What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. I am the 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And as if you know, and if you don't know, this is the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. And you know I like having new friends on the Dr. Vibe show, and we have another one because home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. We have a new friend on tonight. Let me give you a little background about himself. Toronto's Bay Street has never looked better. Former Ralph Lauren and Harry Rosen stylist Earl Rich has launched his own image consulting agency catered to Bay Street's male executives. His extensive experience in dressing men for business during his time with Ralph Lauren and luxury retailer Harry Rosen has shaped much of his style savvy. While his one-on-one executive styling work is very much a private affair, he's in high demand with clients including some of Toronto's premier executives from the legal, finance, and technology sectors. Could say more about him, but you know what? You can see he's already styling. He's looking sharp, like he always is. So we'd like to welcome for the first time on the Dr. Vibe show, and not the last time, Mr. Earl Rich. How are you this evening, sir? Oh, we lost Earl. What happened? I hope we get Earl back. So we're just having a little bit of a technical challenge here. Hopefully we'll get Earl back in just a moment. Okay, so we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty, so I'm sure we'll have him back in just a moment. But as we are waiting for Earl to come back on the screen, let's just see what's going on here. All right. Okay, we lost him on his end, so hopefully he's doing okay. So we'll fill up this time right now with some stuff. So just want to share with you some upcoming stuff on the Dr. Vibe show. Coming up this Sunday, I'll be on live stream audio-wise twice. First time I'll be hosting a conversation specifically for Black Canadians, and the topic will be how to get Black Canadian organizations to take advantage of opportunity. And we'll have members of different Black Canadian organizations from across Canada joining the conversation in regards to creating greater opportunity for not only the organizations, but Black Canadians in general. So that's going to be happening at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Okay, so Earl will be back shortly. Thank you so much. That's okay. So we'll just do some filler stuff right now. So that's on the 18th of August. And then on, we'll just like to say thank you, Foresight, for joining. Much appreciated. That's fantastic. Iris Gingerbread, and these people are joining on the Periscope platform. So we just lost our friend for a few moments, and he should be back on momentarily. Then on 7 p.m. on Sunday evening, it's a rescheduled broadcast. We're going to be talking about Black men and mental health, the causes and effects. And we have two individuals that were on in our past, and I'll just bring them up for you right now. Yes, you Foresight. Much love and respect to you. Right back at you. Thank you for holding on while we get our friend back on with us. So we're just waiting to have him come back on the conversation. So we're just waiting for him to log back on. So as I was mentioning, I do have some other conversations coming up in the near future. Actually, yes. So we have Reginald A. Howard, and this is for the Sunday night conversation happening at 7 p.m. Reginald A. Howard, he hosts the Black Mental Health podcast. He's based out of Philadelphia. And we have Venchel St. Dick, who is a mental health advocate based in the DC, Virginia area. And both of them are going to be on. They were both separately on the Dr. Vibe show in the past. And I thought it'd be good to bring them together because they're very passionate about Black mental health. And I think we've got Earl back.
I don't know what happened.
It's all right. Earl, you back with us?
I am back. I'm here.
Wonderful. So we got you.
I didn't go anywhere though. I was right here, and then
that's okay. It's all you're back. As a Quincy Jones album said in the past, you're back on the block.
Back on the block. That's right.
You are back on the block. So fantastic to have you back on. So let's continue. I was just giving a wonderful introduction to yourself.
Thank you.
It went. So that's okay. It's all good. Now, like we like to do all the time on the first time we have a friend on the Dr. Vibe show. Great bio, wonderful, but where were you born? Where were you growing up? What was little Earl like?
What was little Earl like? Well, first and foremost, I'm actually from the UK originally, and growing up was nice. You know, mostly went to church. You know, which is where I really kind of fell in love with clothing, because when you go to church, mostly, you know, you have to wear your Sunday best. And I remember one particular time, as I was growing up, I saw this beautiful jacket in at the store, and I walked by a few times and had to have that jacket. Got the jacket, you know, after saving up some money, and went to church, and people just were falling over themselves over this jacket. And it was there I understood and saw the power of clothing, you know, and how it can change and shape attitudes toward you. And so, yeah, so, you know, the passion and the desire and the interest, you know, was really quite innate, you know, no particular formal training when it comes to that. But yeah, it was it was a formidable training ground, put it that way, going to church, dressing up on a Sunday.
And it's interesting because the attire at church has sort of leveled down a little bit over the years, depending what church you go to. It's somewhat leveled down. I love what you said, that the power of clothing. I think you should corner that hashtag.
Yes.
Just a thought.
I will do.
Was the power of clothing something that was in your family at the time, or was it something that you discovered on your own when you looked at that jacket for the first time?
Yeah, well, you know, it's more environmental, really. Not so much family. It was more environmental. It was more about what was happening around me. And like I said, it was almost quite competitive. You know, each Sunday you went to church, you know, you wanted to look your best, but at the same time, it was like wanted to stand out just a little. You know, you want to be the talking point. And many Sundays, you know, I was, or, you know, it may have fallen to somebody else. And it's like you wanted to regain that back again, you know, the following week. So you're sort of like outdoing yourself, and also, you know, those around you as well, wanting to do. But, you know, it was fun, you know, it wasn't hostile in any way. It was fun, and everybody had a good time, you know. We shared tips and stuff like that. But it was a great way just to actually see, you know, like I said, the power of clothing, the way people dress, and the way people would express themselves through clothing.
So the group that you hung out with in your younger days, were they up like sort of a power of clothing group that you hung out with?
Well, you know what, to be honest with you, if you went on the regular street, our taste level was quite high. You know, so, you know, when you hang around certain people who are similar to yourself, you know, and you've got a good taste level, when you step outside of that environment, that's when you can begin to compare yourself, because you take for granted. Like, for instance, we had this one particular woman at church, and she sang really, really well. And we would just take for granted, oh, well, you know, that's just Elaine. She sings every Sunday. And then one day we went to this event, and she was a guest singer. And people were like, my gosh, she's amazing. She's amazing. And we were like, but that's just Elaine. We hear it every week. you know. So it's almost like with the clothing, you know, you see everybody just dressed up on a Sunday and take it for granted that, you know, that's what they do. But when you take it outside of the church and around, you know, regular people, then you realize, my gosh, you know, you are at a certain level, you know, beyond most. And so, you know, you just take it for granted, really, going to church and being around well-dressed people every Sunday.
Okay, excellent. So you noticed at a young age that you had this power of clothing in your core. What did you do with it? And how did you take it at a young age to the next level?
Well, I wasn't particularly really that cognizant of, I guess, it's looking back now and being reflective, I see, you know, how it would turn heads and how people would comment and look forward almost to what's going to happen next week. You know, but I didn't really particularly see it as, I guess, as powerful. It's only now that I see, and as I work in the industry, that I see that clothing is a very powerful medium, and it's something that should not be overlooked, you know, or left as an afterthought, you know, and it should be a very deliberate thing that you do. But back then, it was just a matter of, I just want people to talk about me and look the best, you know.
Okay, good stuff. Now, so you were in England for a number of years. Before you came over to Canada, were you involved in the clothing industry before you came to Canada?
Not at all, no.
Wow.
Again, you know, I tell you, I mean, going to church every Sunday, right? Trying to figure out what to wear, how to wear it, and get criticized as well, because, you know, people would say, you know, I like that, or I didn't like that, or, you know, you weren't as good as you were last week and stuff like that. You know, it really helped sharpen, you know, your perspective and your style as well. So yeah, so it really, I think when you continually do something week after week after week, you do get better at it, right? You know, or you can get worse at it, you know, dependent on who's around you and the criticism as well, you know. But fortunately, I had one or two close friends who would say, you know, I like that, or I didn't like that, you know, and that worked, that didn't work, you know. So yeah. But again, media as well, you know, magazines, you know, watching TV shows and things like that. You would sort of like take some guidance from those things, and older people too, you know, people who are a little older and whose style you admired, and also going to more luxury, you know, boutiques and shops around the way, you know, seeing what offerings they offered as well, you know, and just looking at them, just wondering one day, you know, will I be able to wear those shoes or that suit, or, you know, I mean, one thing we did do, my friend and I would go every Sunday and buy a pair of socks. And it was a little bit of luxury because we couldn't really afford much, you know, but we could afford a pair of socks, right? So we would go to the luxury department store and go down and buy a pair of socks every week, you know, and that was our little bit of luxury.
Okay, all right. So here's a crazy question. Do you still have socks from back in the day that you purchased?
No.
Oh, I would have loved to see them. Oh, man.
Well, no, but you know what? To be honest, but the integrity of the sock though is still quite the same. You know, the style of the sock is the same. I wear quite sheer socks, you know, for dress. They were dress socks, right? And that's when we began to know the difference between wearing an everyday sock and a sock for dressing up. And so when I am guiding men in their style, you know, I do lead them to the difference between your everyday sock and also your gala event sock as well, you know, which is thinner, it's more luxurious, and you can't wear it every day because you will actually wear it out. You will get a hole in the sock, right? So it's only meant to be worn occasionally.
Right? I love that term, gala sock. A gala sock. I've never heard that before. I'm loving it. I love that. That's very nice. I like that because I know I'm going to get some terminology tonight that's going to be brand new to me and probably brand new to a number of the viewers here. And just before we go any further, just want to shout out on the Get Vocal platform. Big shout out to L.A. Wade, who hosts an incredible conversation called the Elephant. Well, you know what? My Cocktails. I don't know if it's Elephant Room, My Cocktails. I can't keep up with L.A. Wade, but she's an incredible host, communicator, advocate. And she's based out of Toronto, so do check her out and follow her on all social media. And C. Will, long time no here in the Get Vocal platform, but another longtime Dr. Vibe supporter. So what brought you from the UK to Canada?
Well, typical immigrant story, right? Your family moves, so you move with them, right? So
Okay, makes sense.
that's how it's that simple.
Was it a move that you were looking forward to?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a change of environment. It's different, right? So, yeah, I suppose it was going to be something new, but at the same time, you're leaving family and the familiar behind as well, right? And good friends. And so this was before the days of the technology we have today that actually keeps people in touch in real time, like per se what we're doing right now. Being able to have a conversation real time, but we're not in the same physical room.
Right.
So, you didn't have those type of facilities available to you at the time. So, you may strain some friendships and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was a good move, though. Yeah, I'd say so.
Excellent. So just to update in LA, thank you so much for giving me the correct information. It's Cocktails with LA on mytcntv.com, and that's cocktails, COCKTALESWITHLA.com. So that's the website and myTCN TV. So definitely check her out. She's on live every Friday afternoon from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time. So you come over to Canada. When did you level up the clothing game? When did you start leveling up the clothing game?
Well, I don't know. That's a very good question. It's not something I was really sort of like very aware of.
Right.
Again, it was just something I just do. I enjoy clothing. I really, really do. Some people like to go to basketball games. Some people spend their money maybe on fine watches or cars and things like that. My money goes towards clothing. So that's my interest. I want to know not so much what's the latest. I'm not particularly that interested in the latest. I like to just refine clothing. Fits, fabrics.
So let me interrupt. So when you came over to Canada, did you start working in clothing stores? Like,
right.
So how did that? That's what I want to know. How did that process happen that you started working in those retailers, like like Perry Rosen, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I came over and I was able to get employment with the Ralph Lauren Group.
Okay.
Selling their clothing. Ralph Lauren was and still is, a very good menswear stylist. And he provides, a great style perspective, and a leading style perspective as well. And it's been very, very consistent over the years, and it's aspirational. So he basically sells a look that people want to aspire to have, and that was the environment I was in. And again, you saw people who actually shop the whole look, who could buy the whole mannequin if they wanted to, and those who just came in for a wallet, or a belt, because they said Ralph Lauren on it, So it was through that experience, put me in touch with basically how to put certain types of looks together, and how to tell a story as well, through the way you dress, because you see Ralph, from season to season, it changes, but it still revolves around great taste, right? And so from there, I was able to actually go into the higher luxury end with Harry Rosen's. And that really opened my eyes to a whole different client base, basically how to put certain types of look. And so as a result, you are exposed to people who decide not based upon their pocket, but really, do I like it or not? So if somebody's buying a pair of shoes for $1,200 and they're like, yeah, I'll take two. Actually, I'll take the black and the brown. It's not a matter of it costs this much. I never really particularly had very few people who would actually look at the price. But so therefore I was able to understand clothing, the way it fits, the fabrics, the function of it as well. So those are all key things that I now use, as a consultant. I call it 4 things: the fit, fabric, function, and what's the other one? And form as well. Yeah. So I learned that, and it was just an eye opener being around people who can shop, indiscriminately and decide if I like it or if I don't like it. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Just want to shout out on the Facebook Live platform, shouting out to Curtis Brooks. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by. Now, the interview to work or sell Harry Rosen apparel, was it a difficult interview?
No, funnily enough, it was an online application. I sent it in like a Sunday night, and I'm telling you, without no word of a lie, like 11 o'clock in the morning, I get a call, and they arrange a meeting and essentially hire me on the spot. Essentially, I guess it's one of those things that you see something in somebody immediately, and if they have it, right? And for some people, it really emanates from them. One thing that you can't particularly teach people really is how to behave in clothing. My point of view for clothing is like costume, and so each piece takes on a life of its own, and you act a certain way. So if you're wearing jeans and t-shirt, you may walk a certain way, you may behave a certain way. As per if you're wearing a suit, again, it just emanates, it just comes out. And so I believe that if you were to meet me, then you would see that. People have commented that about me, that there's a certain something that they can't put a finger on, but they get it. You exude it, right?
Okay, good stuff. And I just want to also shout out on the Facebook Live platform, Rodney Kellum, watching from Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you very much for your support. And if you're watching on the Get Vocal platform, you are more than welcome. If you want to come in and ask a question or make a comment, Earl is here to answer to the best of his ability. When you got hired by, Harry Rosen,
mm-hmm.
Were you the only person of color on the floor?
Surprisingly, no. At this location, though. But you know what? I think they began to know and understand the power of diversity.
Ah, okay.
And so they were quite deliberate, I believe, in making their sales force base diverse. And so if you were to go to their kickoff meetings and things like that, you would see many people that looked like myself, that were from different stores. So they were quite deliberate about that. It took them a while to sort of like get it in their campaigns. So if you were to get the Harry Rosen magazine that came out, I believe it was twice a year, I think it was. It took a while for that to sort of like catch up to the hiring, but they understood. I believe they understood.
Well, it's interesting because you said surprisingly. Were you surprised that there were other people of color in their sales force?
Yes, because it had an image of a stodgy sort of like waspy. I should watch my words, I guess.
You're fine. That's okay.
You know what I mean? It was seen as that. You'd walk by without walking in and just have a glance. And it was just typically middle-aged white men. And what they were aware of was, as that demographic was beginning to age, they still wanted to be relevant. And you can't be relevant, when you're beyond the demographic, that's coming up. So they went looking for younger people, and as obviously reflective of, the city we live in as well. Because as the workforce began to change, they want to attract people that will come into the store that look like them. Well, can I say one thing though?
Absolutely, it's your conversation. I'm just steering the ship.
Here's the interesting thing. The interesting thing to me was the people that looked like me didn't particularly want to shop with me.
Wow.
It was almost as if they would bypass you and go on to somebody else. You know, that was I was always like, wow, is it just me? But it happened time and time and time again. You know,
How did that make you feel?
yeah, I was a bit perplexed. You know, I didn't quite understand. You know, and I still don't understand it, right?
Mm.
But I just thought, you know, you'd see somebody, you know, that would make you want to come in and say hello, or you might gravitate towards that person. But no, it was, you know, what right
I
are you?
Well, it's interesting, and just a little sidelight.
Mhm.
That's, you shouldn't. That seems to be. I say. I don't know if it's a common occurrence, but it's not a rare occurrence, and that not only just that industry, but
Mhm.
in other areas, that seems to be a common occurrence, and that's a very interesting point that you pulled out. That people of color, when they came in there, didn't go with you, which is interesting. Be very interesting to find out their mindset why they didn't, but
Mhm.
maybe another time. How long were you at Harry Rosen for, and what were some of the things you learned from being employed by that
Yeah.
well-known retailer?
Yeah. So I was there for about 5 or 6 years. And again, the thing I really understood and learned was the power of relationship. They are big on relationship. And it really impressed me when, you know, you get clients who run their own businesses, you know, who are very high on the food chain. And they would come in, and if I was busy with somebody else, they, you know, you would see them, you would acknowledge them with a nod, because you still able to engage with your current client, and they would leave the store, you know, and come back. And I was like, really, you know, and it happened time and time again. So they were loyal to you. They in themselves understood what relationships about as well, because I'm sure in their areas of business, relationships are key as well. And so, yeah, many times if I was with my day off and they wouldn't come in, or if they did come in, didn't see me, they would leave and leave a message, you know, or because with somebody they would just say, nod their head and, you know, and leave the store, you know.
Mhm.
So I learned the power of relationship there. And again, you know, some people would come in an emergency, and quick thinking too, being able to assess what somebody's needs were as well, you know, ahead of
Okay.
time. That was a quick thing as well. And people appreciate that because you're the specialist, right? You know, they're the specialist in their area, and you're the specialist in this particular area too. So they come in looking for your help. They pay, you know, the luxury store, and so they understand what they're getting for their money as well. There's an expectation.
So you moved on from Harry Rosen, and my question would be, or my conversation piece is, why did you move on? And do you remember, can you share that moment when you said it's time to move forward?
Yeah, well, it was a conversation with a friend, and actually a few years back, prior to that, and it was all about because Rosen at the time they were expanding, and they were going into a brand new location, and so they said that's typically the best time to join a company when they're expanding into a new market, new location. You know, that way, you know, new people are coming in, so it gives you a better footing than an existing one sometimes that already has a client base, an existing client base. And so when the opportunity came up, you know, and I saw that, I thought, you know what, why not? Because I mean, this is ultimate luxury. When you're selling shoes, you know, for $2,500, you know, $1,200, you know, coats and suits, you know, in excess of $25,000, $30,000, you know. I mean, who doesn't want to be there? You know, who doesn't want to be in an environment that is the best? You know, they sell the best in the city. You know, you're amongst people who are the best in the city, right? So why not be in the, I guess, in the major leagues essentially? You know, if you get a chance, you know, and I felt, you know, that I was able, and more than, and when I got there, I was, you know, when people give you a chance, you know, and you hit the ball out of the park, some of the times they just keep coming back to you. You know, they refer people to you. Go see my guy. You know, you get a call, a guy in a boardroom. You know, I've spilled coffee myself. You know, can you get a shirt ready for me, please? You know, he comes in, gets his shirt, but you send him a tie and a jacket too. You know what I mean? Because they said, well, this shirt and tie and jacket go really well together right now. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I'll take it. You know. So yeah, so it was the majors basically for me. You know, in this in the retail industry, and you're amongst some really, really powerful people.
Okay, so can you share with us the moment that you had to tell them that you were moving forward?
Well, you know, I think with retail spaces, I think it's expected that people don't particularly want to
Right.
stay, right, and that you know they have turnaround, right, and so they yeah, it was just a matter of, you know what, you go in there, great, good luck. You know, it's a shark infested den and that kind of thing. It's really cutthroat, you know, be careful. But you know what? It was very gentlemanly. Like it's almost like a gentleman's club, basically. You know, a sanctuary for men. That's what it was almost like. You walk in there, guys, they talk the way they talk. You know, you go in the fitting room, you know, they come out looking whichever way, you know, they're just amongst men. It's like almost being in a locker room almost. You know what I mean? And the conversation is the conversation. It's almost what's said stays there, right? You know, and people walk in and out, and it's like they know each other from the area too. You know, so it was like a little club, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, did you move on to another retailer from there?
And that was it. You know, so
that was it. Yeah. So you decided you're going to do your own thing.
Right. So from there, I was always dispensing advice to guys, you know, where to find this, how to do that, you know, how to refine certain things. And it's just through, you know, over a number of years that friends would say, you know, hold on a second, you know, I think you should do something with this. You know, people would pay for this advice, you know, and I was like, really? Yeah, you know, and so, you know, it was a matter of confidence, number one, you know, and number two, just believing that, you know, it can happen. And so sometimes you have to listen to people because people see things in you that you don't necessarily see in yourself, right? And a lot of times people can believe in you before you believe in yourself. And so once that caught up with my belief in myself, with their belief in me, then I thought, you know what, let's go for it. So it went from informal to a formal situation just over 4 years or so ago. And yeah, it's been a process, you know. Like growing any business, it's you know, it's a lot of word of mouth, and people being happy with what you've done, and people noticing changes in, you know, their friends and wondering what's going on here, you know. And it's like, go see this guy, you know, he can sort you out, you know.
Nice.
And it's just word of mouth. That's all it has been, you know.
So, and I just before we go further. See Will on the Get Vocal platform. Love your quote saying, believing you can have it. He says that's a golden nugget right there. So that's good stuff. With how many, okay, there's so many different questions I want to ask. Okay, let me just put it to this one. First things first, how many of your clients from the Rosen days either still support you or still keep in touch with you? Because you did highlight the importance of relationships.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
How much of the foundation of the Harry Rosen days have set you up for success these days?
Right. So I still have some of my core guys that I work with. So, you know, that was about a handful or so of guys, you know, and because you're working in an industry whereby these high level executives, you don't always stay local, put it that way. You know, they do move around the world. And so they can be here today, and then, you know, within a couple of months, you know, they've gone to a new venture, a new opportunity somewhere else, right? So there's some kind of fallout from there, attrition. And so, you know, but you do get introduced sometimes to their network as well, of friends too, you know. But it is, how can I say, people don't really admit to say that they need help. You know, they won't say, yeah, I have a guy that helps me to get dressed in the morning.
Okay. No, and that brings up a very interesting conversation piece. How many of your referrals for executive men's clothing come from women or their partners?
Yeah, not many.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is mostly from a guy. It's mostly it's like, I've got a guy, I've got a friend, you know what I mean, talk to this guy, type of situation. Or sometimes I press them. I said, no, do you know anybody else that could possibly, need some help, who's open to it, so I get referrals. It can be a slow drip sometimes,
Yeah.
It's like, you know what, yeah, I'm good the way I am, and you follow up, once you've got the information. And but like I said, it can be a slow drip. And some guys, it's like, you know what, I need a change. You hit somebody at the right point in their life. They are moving on, or they've realized, the company is now changing, and what they were doing isn't going to translate very well with a new change, a new direction. What do I do? The biggest one really is moving from typical business wear to business casual. What is that? I mean, people don't even know what it is. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, what do I do? And it's like, well, I knew in the morning I could just put a suit on and a shirt and off I go. But now, the boundaries are so wide that I don't know how to interpret it. And for different levels too. When you're executive and lower, it can be different things at different levels. So that's when I get some really good referrals from those situations when things are just changed. And people just like caught like deers in the headlights. What do I do now?
You mentioned about in the world of especially men's clothing when it comes to the casual look. How have you been able to adapt to the change in the clothing in the executive suite these days? Has it been easy for you, and more importantly, has it been easy for your clients?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's easy for me because I'm making my business, right? I'm making my business to know what's going on and how things should be. So when people come to me, I pretty much have an idea. But most importantly, my question to them is, what message do you wish to communicate to the world?
Love that. Can you repeat that? I love that.
Yeah. What message do you wish to communicate to the world?
That's a nugget right there.
Because with clothing, I mean, you can say a myriad of different things by the way you dress, right? And people make assumptions of you before you open your mouth, before they see you and stuff like that. So, you can be very comfortable and very good at what you do, but the way you dress may take away from that. And so if you're rising through the ranks and you're very good, your skill set is amazing, you're competent, but do people feel that you fit in? Are they going to be confident with you? So it's like, let's bring those two things together. Your skill set, you're very good at what you do, but you're not translating in the way you look. Let's bring those two things together. So undoubtedly, people have no reservations, like you're the person, you're the guy, Alternatively, you could be in a setting of very business casual that's, really pared down, and it's a jeans and t-shirt situation. Now, if you're in charge, how can you stand out that you're the person in charge in a very, very informal, casual situation, right? You're the go-to guy. So when somebody walks into the room, they're going to you and not looking around the room to figure out who's the leader here. So there's little nuances, there's little things that people overlook and don't quite understand, But once you put them together, they go, "Oh, yeah, okay, no, I get that."
Nice.
So yeah, so to me, it's the message you wish to convey to the world. Some people approach it from being very comfortable in what you're wearing, which to me, it's not quite there. I think you have to communicate a certain message and then be comfortable with what you're wearing as well, right? I don't think the former precedes it. So that's how I work. Yeah.
Okay, so just keeping up with the comments here on the Facebook page, Serena Wills goes, "Really? Wow, I think women would prefer more men." She goes, "Some men really, really, really need help. LOL." And she also loves your question. What message do you wish to communicate to the world? She says, loves that. I think that's a knowledge bomb big time. That is knowledge. You just dropped a serious knowledge bomb there. Melvin Lars has a question here on the Get Vocal platform. He says, I'm a big guy. I cannot find pants without pleats. Why is that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, when you go over a certain size, then you're forgotten about, basically. Let's not mince words. You're forgotten about. You're an afterthought. Things are very slow in that area. The only way to keep abreast of things is really made to measure, bespoke, where you can actually get what you want because you've seen it around you, but it's just not available in the store to purchase. So there are ways of doing it. It's just really, are you willing to spend the money for it, really? And that's just really just the unfortunate thing when it comes to sizing, right? They have vanity sizing. There are certain brands that I particularly think I'm a 40, 41, 42 sometimes, and I can't get into it. Do you know what I mean? Because, it's vanity sizing. So, I'm a 44 in that one. I'm like, really, a 44? Can't be, but they taper it right down to small people. So for larger people, really, it has to go made to measure, by the taking your measurements and then making the garment specifically for you, especially in Canada, at least, anyways.
Right. Well, he's based in the U.S. and he also just says they automatically assume that all big men have big guts. Not so for all of us.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? Even with black men, we are proportioned very differently, and the way clothing is made, they have fit models. So a certain designer has a certain look. So let's say, for instance, I like to equate it to cars. So here's the form. You get Mercedes, they've got their full range of cars, C's, E's, 500, 600, whatever it is, and they're made a certain way. It's the same thing with clothing. Certain designers have certain models, and you have to find the one that kind of best fits your body, right? And some, you might like it on the rack, but it's just not the form for your fit, for your body. And for black men, sometimes we have bigger seats, than other men, right? And it's not made specifically for our body form because we've got a white guy essentially as a fit model, so we have to kind of fit in, and our proportions are different. I mean, our pelvis is tilted just a little, so therefore, our seat rises a little bit at the back, right? So for a white guy, it's not. It kind of sits under, and so his pants look great on him, and not so great on us. Need some alterations, or if you're heavier in the thigh, you might need some alterations too. So the key to me is find a garment that actually fits. So that's the form. Find the right form for you, and then take the alterations from there. Whether you're tweaking it, taking it in, letting it out. You don't want to do a complete overhaul, but it's just minor alterations, when it comes to finding the right garment.
Right. Other than the change to more business casual wear, what are some of the changes that you've seen over your journey when it comes to executive clothing for men, and what are some of the things you're seeing even up to now that are changing? Because is it a changing industry as much as compared to women's clothing? Does it change that often?
Yeah, menswear is very slow. So you can essentially wear something for many seasons repeatedly and still be okay. It's not like women's very fast. Every season is very different silhouettes, different styles, different fabrics. So it's very, very, very fast. Men's are a little slower. I mean, you can wear your navy blazer, 3 or 4 years in a row and still look very relevant and very current, right? So that's one of the key differences. But as for change, it's been, do I wear a tie? Do I not wear a tie now? Right? It's always best to wear a tie. You can always take it off, than not wear a tie and wish you had it. Down to colors, men have become a little more comfortable with colors now, and pattern too. Whereas before it was just a matter of let's just do whites and blues and no stripes. Right. I'm very safe stripes. So now, you're going to, brighter colors, more vivid things if they want to. Some of the men I've dealt with in the past, they wear what they like. Their clients understand and confident in them, So they like to express themselves a certain way because that it has become their brand. They've become known with bold colors and bold prints and bold stripes and bold glasses and things like that. So that's their brand. They're expected to come looking dressed bold, and others, it's not like that. So trends, not so much trends, but just an adoption of colors and fits too. Earlier on, the rise of the pant came down to almost like a jean, like a denim. So a dress pant was like the same rise as a pair of denim. And so you got older men fitting into those types of suits, and which is a bit of a sort of on the cusp of trying too hard and not looking too. Actually, there was a term that I grew up with. I don't know if you get this one. So mutton dressed up as lamb. Have you heard of that one before?
No.
Okay.
Oh, no, I have heard mutton. I have heard that mutton dressed up as lamb. Yes.
So you get some people kind of like dressed up. You know what I mean? It's like it's not for you though. It might be current, but it's really not for you. And that's been one of the challenges I've had sometimes. But the guys are wearing this in the office. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, but it's not quite for you. You know, you know what I mean? You can go ahead and do it, but really, it's not telling the right story for you, and you're just going to look like you're trying too hard, So we adapt that, and we make modifications, so you can relate in certain other ways, but don't necessarily have to wear the same suit the same way, right? But still look relevant and still fit in. So it's just having that keen eye. What it is, a lot of guys go shopping alone or with their significant other. So whether it be they're the mother or their daughter, even their daughter as well, or their wife or girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. And what tends to happen is they rely on their level of taste. And unfortunately, they're not in their working environment. And so they don't really particularly understand that, yeah, I like that shirt on you, I like that jacket, but at work it isn't translated very well.
Good point. Good point.
On you, you know what I mean? Every morning, oh, wear that shirt, oh, wear that jacket that I bought you. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, well, you do, and you get to work, and it doesn't fit in. So I'm the guy that's sort of like, I guess, a shopping buddy almost, essentially. Do you know what I mean? And that steers you in the right direction, and you can say, you know what, yes and no, and here's the reason why. So just having that extra depth of knowledge and understanding, just stood right by you. And sometimes some guys just are clueless. You know what I mean? They're just like, I don't know.
Well, it's interesting you're sharing that then, because I guess when you have to tell a client that that's not you, that's where the foundation of a relationship comes in. Right. That they're willing, they trust you. Mm-hmm. They know, like, and trust you. Right. So they're willing to. They know that's there. It's interesting because many years ago, I used to shop at an Arrow shirt shop, mm-hmm. and they knew my environment, so they would put aside stuff for me mm-hmm. that they felt that would suit the environment that it was in.
Right.
So that's really, really important, that relationship aspect. Mm. Let me ask about the demographic of your client. Mm-hmm. Age, like what percentage are non-melanated? What percentage are melanated? Where does that stand at the present time?
Right. So age, my target market is 34 plus, and that's primarily because it's men who've actually been in the workforce now, moving on to more senior levels. Now they've proven themselves and they're moving up. So I'm getting a guy who is young looking, sometimes working into more senior position. And so he wants to look the part. He's very young in the face, but still he's going to be around older people, and he wants to be taken seriously by them. He wants to be seen as the guy. So 34 plus is, I get some coming in. I get some in the mid range, who have been in their career for some time, but again, they're in these younger guys coming up, and they're looking over their shoulder and see what's happening with them, and 40 odd, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not quite old, but still not as young as I was. You know what I mean? And for men, and this is one of the reasons why I think it's important to work with a man, women do great jobs with what I do, but our bodies change, right? And it's to be able to delicately understand that and to knowingly understand that too. Because when a guy's saying it doesn't fit, you know why it's not fitting. It's not, oh, do you want another size? It's like, because, he's carrying a little extra weight now on the thighs that wasn't there before. Do you know what I mean? Or his butt's a little bigger than it was before because, the weight is sitting around there. So you can knowingly understand that, and with a knowing glance and look, you move on to something else. So it's helping the guy in that area of his life understand his body now as it's beginning to change. He's working out like a fiend, but it's not going anywhere. Do you know what I mean? So what do we do? It's like your chest, it's fuller, it just naturally gets fuller. And so what do you do? And your stomach, how do we best accommodate that and not bring too much attention to it, but at the same time, make you look amazing? And then you've got the older guy who's, nearing the end of his career, and but still doesn't want to look like he's going to pasture. I want to still look relevant. You know what I mean? I want to still look relevant. I still want to look cool. He's coloring his hair. That what's left of it. You know what I mean? And so he's eating right, and he's working out. But he knows he can't wear what the 30-year-olds are wearing, but he still wants to look cool, and relevant. So yeah. So in terms of actually, I would say it's I would say 2/3 and a third. 2/3 Caucasian and a third melanated, as you said.
Yeah, melanated.
Which and that really kind of just came from my client base before, from my early days. You know what I mean? But I make a concerted effort now to get out there and reach a wider audience.
So you're reading my mind right now, because I was going to ask you, what are you doing to expand your base?
Right. Yeah. So I've got getting the help of Convo Media, and they are helping me. Which they're a great boutique PR company, and so they're helping me get my name out there and to be more known and aware, packaging me in a way that's relatable to, again, what do I want to project, right? How do I want to be seen? What's my story? How do I want to tell that story? So they're excellent in that. That's their forte, and so you hire specialists in their key areas in order to get the job done. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
And also, how much and what type of research do you do to keep on top or ahead of the industry, so you can keep ahead of the industry for your clients?
Yeah. So I'm not in fashion, right? So fashion is something that goes and comes and just can go crazy. I'm not in fact. My thing is style. Style is everlasting.
That.
And so as a result, you can wear something today, and you can be, here's what I say. I say after 5 years, it's vintage.
Right.
It's not out of style. It's just vintage, right? This is my vintage jacket from 5 years ago, right? So it's how you reframe it. So really, it's just a matter of just visiting the stores. I go shopping a lot. Walking around, I feel things, I touch things. I talk. What's going on? Is there anything I should be aware of? Again, if there's a new brand that I'm not aware of, I'll go and try it on, see how it fits. Do some online research as well, about them and what they're aiming to do too. So when you're coming to engage that product with somebody, there's something you have the confidence that they're getting the right thing and it's going to perform the right way as well. Which brings me down to again, like I said before, my 4 F's. So it's form, fit, fabric, and function. Fabric, right? You might love that suit or that jacket or those pants, but guess what? If you're jumping on a plane and you're flying across, for 6 or 7 or 8 hours, is it going to perform the way you want it to perform when you get off the plane? It may not, but it may be a nice pair of pants draped on a hanger, but it's not. Is it going to perform the way you need it to perform? So it's understanding those types of things as well. And linen, people run away from linen. Well, linen does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to wrinkle, but it's supposed to breathe and make you feel cool too, right? So it's just understanding your fabrics as well. So some people, you go, I think one of the differences as well between hiring an executive style consultant like myself and just going into the store is me taking the time to understand who you are, as opposed to me just telling you something, right? And not taking that time out. But just get a sip of water.
No problem. I just want to add to that too, for those of us, myself included, who can't afford you yet, and hopefully we will be, do you have some style tips for us?
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, when it comes to style tips, I think a lot of times, as I mentioned before, fit is the biggest thing. You can, get a suit off the rack, from a more pedestrian retailer and make it look amazing on you by just going to the tailor, getting it short and getting it nipped here, getting it taken out there, getting the sleeve shortened, and just really making it look good on you. And that would leave people guessing, is it, really a high-end item, right? But if you just throw a jacket on and a pair of pants and then off you go and don't bother to get them tailored, then it's going to look very shabby. So that'll be one of my first style things, is get the right fit, get the right form, get the right fit, and have it tailored.
So just adding on to that, then what should a gentleman look for when they're dealing with a tailor? What makes a good tailor?
Well, you know what? I would say this, that I'm sure a tailor is not going to say, well, I'm not an alterationist, right? I'm a tailor. I'm a tailor, so I make things. Okay. So that's probably the little distinction between somebody who's a tailor and who's just an alterationist. So I guess what I should say is find somebody who's knowledgeable in tailoring, but is more an alterationist, because really when it comes down to it, you're just needing alterations. However, if you do get a challenging garment, then you're going to need more than an alterationist. You're going to need a tailor then who understands how a garment is constructed and how to take it apart and put it back together again. I would make that a bit of a distinction. So so find somebody who's versed in tailoring, but maybe it's not really their thing. They're more alterationists.
Excellent.
And maybe ask them that as well. Do you understand?
Is there anything about the style industry at this time that bothers you, that you wish would change?
No, style evolves, right? And that's what keeps you on your toes, and that's what keeps it exciting. And so, especially for menswear, I can only speak for menswear. I enjoy it. I like it. I like the direction it's going in. The only challenge I'm seeing right now is in the retail spectrum.
Okay.
And that is because of this business casual situation. Some retailers aren't carrying as much work-related business casual, and they're kind of swinging towards a very street look. So it can be challenging at times for some retailers, some shoppers, to find where do I get really good stuff from. And I guess with the online stuff as well, right? The challenges of the bricks and mortar versus the online as well. That can be a bit of a challenge too. But mostly, I like it. Every season is a different season. It brings out new things. Whether a new pattern, a bolder pattern, a smaller pattern, new color. A new way of doing things. Like right now, if you were to focus on the fashion side of things, then it's more of a fuller fit now, more elusive fit. That slim, tight up fit is beginning to wane a little, and it's not for everybody. And if you look at what's being presented, it's been a fuller leg, on the pant, a wider leg, a fuller jacket. So what happens then is the inferences from those catwalks slowly translate into what happens in the retail store, and it takes a while.
Right.
For the most part, when it comes to the workplace, then it's a matter of it's got to look good. You're representing your company, and you're representing yourself too. So you're not going to go fashion. You're going more style.
Okay, good. Oh, Roger Dundas says pants that sag below your bum. We're not even going to address that, Roger. That's a whole other conversation. But that is good. Well, you know what? We've taken up a lot of your time, and we appreciate you taking time out of your positive, productive schedule to share with us. Are there any final words you'd like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, like I said, one of the things when you go shopping, just be confident in what you want, and don't try and follow the trends. They're not always for you, but it's okay to indulge yourself occasionally. Constantly go through your wardrobe and edit. Take out those things that haven't been worn for some time that don't particularly fit. And when you're buying, buy for now. Don't buy for when I lose 5 pounds. Or when I'm gonna gain 5 pounds. Buy for now, because you can wear it right now and you'll enjoy it. Rather than it be a challenge and why did I buy that and leave it in my wardrobe. And if you need any help, you can find me at earlrichstyle.com. And I'm more than happy to assist if I can.
That's wonderful. I was just gonna ask how people can contact you, and you took care of it. You mentioned in that last comments that you made, how often should a gentleman go through his clothing and sort of like purge or go through stuff?
Yeah, I would say seasonally. Once the season ends, what happens? Like myself, I don't know if I'm the usual thing, but I package away my fall winter and bring out my spring summer, and then that goes away. So as I'm taking things out, I'm trying them on, and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll keep this. I won't keep that. And you purge. And again, depending on your space. If you've got a lot of space, then you can keep things, right? If you don't, then one in, one out. You get rid of that blue blazer, bring in a new one, right? There's no point keeping both, because chances are you're not going to wear both of them. You're going to gravitate to the new one. So just get rid of it. And also, look around you and help others out. That's what I say. Nice. Look for somebody who's coming up, who may be struggling a little, or somebody who could do with a little extra, a jacket that you think, what? Do you mind? Do you mind? I've got this great jacket. I think it would look great on you, and hand that out too. So don't just, give your good, hard-earned garment away to the charity shop. Look around in your community first. And if you can't find somebody there, then maybe hand it off. But chances are you can hand it off to somebody, they're going to love it. They're going to wear it the same way that you loved and cared for it as well.
Yeah, and it's a good mention by Earl. There are some organizations and cities around the world that you can donate your business clothing to help gentlemen who can't afford that type of clothing for interviews, etc., things like that. I know of a few, so if people want to contact me offline, I can certainly refer them to that. I know that there's one in New York City called That Suits You, that I remember when he started that off, and it's become a big enterprise now. And I see even major clothiers now doing the same sort of thing now in regards to, having their clients, if there's clothes that they don't want anymore, having them donate them to these organizations, these retail stores, so they can give them to men who are wanting to aspire and have the look, per se, of the corporate world. So, and I have a feeling maybe one day Earl will start something like that. You never know. Just giving it. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. All right, there you go. Well, Earl, I'd like to say thank you so much for taking time from your positive, productive schedule to share with us. And before we went live, Earl said, "Well, how long are we going to be on for?" I said, like maybe 45 minutes. I was just, really? Well, we've gone past that, Earl, just to make you know. All right, just to make you realize that.
I know. I was like, where did time go? I'm looking at the time, like, my gosh, is it really been that long? But
and we have to you. There's so much more stuff that we could share.
Yeah,
that's
you.
A part two.
That's credit to you as a host, to put somebody at ease and to really elicit, their ability for them to tell their stories. So that's a credit to you.
I appreciate it. Don't take it for granted. And we did it together. So it wasn't just about me, and also the wonderful audience out there. People like C. Will, Big Bad Brad, Melvin Lars, Roger from Convo Media, the wonderful and beautiful and talented LA Wade. On the Get Vocal end, we had people on Facebook, people like Dave Rankin, who's another member of the MyTCN family. We had people like Serena Wills, and she says, and actually Serena Wills is based in the DC area, and she said that I have to jump off, but we'll watch replay and pass this along to some men I know who could use this. I know some who just don't know how to switch over to business casual. So I will follow up with her and see if she'll give them your contact information, if you don't mind.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because speaking of which, do you have any international clients?
You know what? No.
Not yet.
But I would welcome them, though.
Okay. I just put that out. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of me, right? I do what I do the way I do it, right?
Oh.
And there's only one of me. So if you like what I do, and you live somewhere else, then you're gonna have to kind of import me, right? Or come to where I am.
Okay. Also want to shout out Curtis Brooks, who was on for a little bit, and there were some other people on the Facebook platform. Rodney Kellum had people from all over North America, so that is great. I'm going to just shut it down here and say I am Dr. Vibe. I'm the host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, 2018 Innovation Award winner, handed out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I am the host of Epic Conversations. This is the home of Epic Conversations. Before we leave, we always like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. If you want to touch base with me, the best place to go to is my website, www.thedrvibeshow.com. All my contact information is there. All my social media information is there. And over 2,000 Epic Conversations are there. So that is where you need to go when you have time and if you have time. All right. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith and walk good. Thanks for watching.